Good afternoon, beautiful people. Today we are talking about Zohran Mamdani, the same guy who called Donald Trump a fascist and a despot, yet somehow found himself sitting across from the president in the Oval Office this past Friday. And Candace Owens says Emmanuel and Brigitte Macron have executed upon and paid for her assassination. Welcome to Nelly Miranda.
He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist, and your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay, you can just say yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
As you can see in that clip, President Trump came to Zohran Mamdani's rescue as he was prepared to give an explanation that would have essentially been him spinning us in circles. So yes, like Trump mentioned, it's easier to say yes and move on. But as always, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Okay, so let's get into the headlines from NBC News. They reported that Mamdani, after years of calling Trump every name in the book, met with the president for about 45 minutes at the White House. They shook hands, they smiled, they talked about housing, affordability, and crime in New York City. Now, here's the twist. After this supposedly friendly, constructive meeting, Mamdani walks out and tells the press he still believes Trump is a fascist. He doubled down, saying he stands by every word. So let's pause right there. If Donald Trump is truly the fascist dictator that the left has described 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, why are you meeting with him? Why are you smiling in the Oval Office? Why are you agreeing that you two share some common goals with plans to work together? Is he a dictator or not? Either Trump is a fascist or he's the president who just gave you the political legitimacy that you wanted. Both cannot be true. When the NBC News reporter asked him if he still believed Trump was a fascist and despot, he easily and confidently stated yes.
In that press conference with President Trump, a reporter asked you whether you believe that President Trump is in fact a fascist, a word that you've used in the past. You were about to answer, then President Trump sort of jumped in and he said, quote, "That's okay, you can just say yes. It's easier than explaining it." So, Mr. Mayor-elect, just to be very clear, do you think that President Trump is a fascist?
And after President Trump said that, I said yes. And
so you do?
And that's something that I've said in the past. I say it today. And I think what I appreciated about the conversation that I had with the president was that we were not shy about the places of disagreement about the politics that has brought us to this moment. And we also wanted to focus on what it could look like to deliver on a shared analysis of an affordability crisis for New Yorkers.
You've also said in the past that President Trump has engaged in a, quote, attack on our democracy. You've called him a despot. Do you still believe President Trump is a threat to the democracy?
Everything that I've said in the past, I continue to believe. And that's the thing that I think is important in our politics, is that we don't shy away from where we have disagreements, but we understand what it is that brings us to that table. Because I'm not coming into the Oval Office to make a point or make a stand. I'm coming in there to deliver for New Yorkers. And a few weeks ago, I was asked by a reporter 3 words to describe myself. I said, New York City. And that's what animated that conversation. How do we deliver for the people of New York City?
I wish he was as confident in his answer when he was in front of President Trump. The second reporter who asked for clarification on whether he believed Trump was a fascist or not had to do so because he was getting ready to deliver another poetic answer that takes forever to get to the conclusion. But luckily for him, Trump saved him.
We had a productive discussion, but just days ago, you referred to President Trump as a despot who had betrayed the country. You said you'd be his worst nightmare and accused him of having a fascist agenda. Are you planning to retract any of these remarks in order to improve your relationship?
I think both President Trump and I, we are very clear about our positions and our views, and what I really appreciate about the president is that the meeting that we had focused not on places of disagreement, which there are many, and also focused on the shared purpose that we have in serving New Yorkers. And frankly, that is something that could transform the lives of the 8.5 million people who are currently struggling under a cost of living crisis, with 1 in 4 living in poverty. And the meeting came back again and again to what it could look like to lift those New Yorkers out of struggle and start to deliver them a city that they could do more than just struggle to afford it, but actually start to live in it.
And I've been called much worse than a despot, so it's not that insulting. Maybe I think he'll change his mind after we get to working together. Yes, please.
And I want to clarify your answer to Stephen Nelson. He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist, and your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
That's classic Trump, deflect with humor. And in my opinion, I believe this is actually a double-edged sword, because the more the left throws around the word fascist, the more it becomes a joke, the more the word loses its meaning. And the more we soften the seriousness of these accusations, the easier it becomes for the left to use extreme rhetoric as a political weapon. The most interesting matter at hand is that the day Mamdani went to meet President Trump, Congress voted to condemn socialism the same day.
Socialism is communism light. Socialism is the first step to communism. Socialism is the antithesis of the American dream. Because in this country, we believe that regardless of where you come from or how you started, if you work hard, if you sacrifice, if you play by the rules, you can succeed. And that only happens in a country where you have freedom, where you have liberty, where you have self-determination, and you have the free market.
Yeah, this whole meeting was interesting. Zohran Mamdani went from Trump-proofing New York to the president and I plan on working together to make New York better for all New Yorkers. Let's be honest here. Mamdani went to Washington to build clout. This is a socialist mayor-elect backed by the far left, endorsed by the DSA, and openly advocating for massive government-run programs in New York. Someone with that agenda doesn't suddenly see the light after visiting Trump's Oval Office. What he sees is opportunity. He sees headlines. He can now signal to his base, look at me. I walked into the Oval Office. I shook Trump's hand and walked out calling him a fascist. I'm the one who stands up to him. But when asked if he was surprised about the friendliness of the meeting, this is what he had to say. Take a listen.
Of your first meeting with President Donald Trump, he praised you. He even said you could do a great job as mayor despite months of a bitter back and forth. Were you surprised by the warm welcome that you got?
You know, I was looking forward to having the meeting with the president to speak about the needs of the 8.5 million people who call the same city we love home, and to speak, frankly, about the affordability crisis that is pushing so many of them out of those 5 boroughs. And I found in the meeting that I had with the president a productive one, and a meeting that came back again and again to the central themes of the campaign that we ran: the cost of housing, the cost of childcare, the cost of groceries, the cost of utilities. And it showed that this is an opportunity to now start to deliver so that people can do more than just aspire to struggle in New York City, but actually to be able to live there.
But did you expect it to be so chummy? What was going through your head when you were standing there?
You know, I thought again and again about what it would mean for New Yorkers if we could establish a productive relationship that would focus on the issues that those New Yorkers stay up late at night thinking about. Because so often in our politics, we try and tell people what they should be worried about, what they should be concerned about. But when you actually ask New Yorkers and you listen to them, you hear it come back to the issues that animated not just the conversation the president and I had with the press after our meeting, but frankly in the meeting itself.
We like adults to be cordial, regardless of their political views. But if New York suddenly starts getting federal money to expand socialist programs under the banner of affordability, that's going to be a huge red flag for conservatives, because this is exactly how left-wing policies creep into federal budgets, quietly, softly, wrapped in nice words like fairness, equity, shared goals, etc. I think Trump is trying to show swing voters, independent voters, and moderate urban voters that he is open to working with anyone. But on the other hand, I think Mamdani will have some explaining to do to his base, because he was smiling and having a good time the entire meeting and then immediately rushed to the media afterwards to say he still believes Trump is dangerous and a fascist. If he truly believed that, he wouldn't have shown up smiling for photos and expected to have Trump's full cooperation on working together. Here's what a councilwoman from New York had to say about the meet and greet.
Played chess. Today was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I am in the city council. I work with DSA council members, and I will tell you this guy's got a lot of answering to do when he comes back to New York, because he's got the DSA Linda Saussure types that are going to hold his hands over the fire for taking a meeting with Trump, let alone come out of it buddy-buddy. I think Trump was brilliant. I think Mamdani actually, we need the president, cannot move forward without federal dollars. So he knows he's between a rock and a hard place. And this has always been the question about Zohran. How is he going to navigate this? How's he going to appease the DSA? Because that's who he is clearly. And they stand behind him 100%. He's going to have a hard time explaining this to them.
Yeah, I think this is all political theater, but I am anticipating to see how he will deliver on all of his promises to New York. Do you think Mamdani used this meeting to boost his personal brand? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Okay, so moving on to our second story. Candace Owens says France President Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte Macron has a bounty on her head. I don't want to mince her words, so I will read her tweet in its entirety. On Friday, November 21st, she posted on X and said, 2 days ago, I was contacted by a high-ranking employee of the French government. After determining this person's position and proximity to the French couple, I have deemed the information they gave me to be credible enough to share publicly in the event that something happens. In short, this person claims that the Macrons have executed upon and paid for my assassination. Yes, you read that correctly. More specifically, that the green light was given to a small team in National Gendarmerie Intervention Group. I am told that there is one Israeli that is on this assassination squad and the plans were formalized. Again, this person provided concrete proof that they are well placed within the French government apparatus. Further to this point, this person claims that Charlie Kirk's assassin trained with the French Legion 13th Brigade with multi-state involvement. Journalist Xavier Poussard's life is also at risk. This is deadly serious. The head of state of France apparently wants us both dead and has authorized professional units to carry this out. I ask that every person retweet and share this. I do not know who in the American government can be trusted since this source claims our leaders are aware, but I have more specific information which is definitely verifiable should they care to reach out to me. To the brave official in France who did this because they were so moved by the evil of Charlie's public execution to risk their own life, may God bless you truly. Let all be revealed. Now, I know a lot of people do not like Candace Owens for whatever reason, but we can all agree that her calling out the absurdities and the evil practices of the elites on her podcast should never warrant death. The lengths the elites will go to hide the truth and or silence those who are seeking it is despicable. We have a man in the Élysée Palace playing dress up, but somehow Candace Owens is the problem, not the man who was allegedly sleeping with his high school student. Alrighty. So Candace Owens also posted 2 other tweets saying, I have informed people in the federal government and the White House of the France and Israeli assassination plot and am willing to provide full details as well as the name of the assassins and international accounts in France and Canada through which money was exchanged. Beyond that, I have shared more information with the public regarding the Brigitte story I was investigating at the time of Charlie's assassination. This is all available on my Instagram stories. Thank you all for reaching out and praying for my family. She also goes on to say, when everything is said and done and the public learns that Macron allegedly moved $1.5 million for my assassination, how will the world respond? Then you have people like Kim Klacik. She was the Republican nominee for Maryland's 2nd Congressional District in the 2024 general election in which she was defeated. She lost both in 2020 and 2024. Her and Owens have history. She sued Candace Owens for defamation in 2021 because Candace accused her of being a stripper who misused her campaign funds. Kim lost and had to pay Candace's legal fees. Okay, so today Kim reposted Candace's post and said, Owens spent 2 months telling her followers the Trump administration, especially the FBI, cannot be trusted. Now she's running to them for help. I've noticed no one from the administration has publicly acknowledged any of her claims. Oh, wow. So calling on the FBI and the Trump administration to do their job when a U.S. citizen's life is being threatened by a president of another country because they don't like what she's saying or publicizing on her podcast is apparently a bridge too far for Kim. And where's the media? How and why are they not reporting on this? Obviously, they do not have to provide commentary, but they can at least publish it and let it be known. Lord help us all. The world is getting darker by the day. May God protect Candace and keep her and her family safe. What are your thoughts on this matter? Let me know in the comments. And as always, if honest commentary brings you value, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. And ring the bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.